I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Pat, please call the roll of the board members.
Mr. Cox?
Here.
Mr. Floral?
Here.
Mrs. Galloway? Here. Mr. Jones?
Here.
Mrs. Miller? Mrs. Storr?
Here.
Mr. Wedgeworth?
Here.
Mr. Chairman, we have 6 board members present, therefore there is a quorum.
Thank you, Pat. May I have a motion to approve the minutes of the prior board meeting that was held on September 23rd, 2021?
I so
To
move.
approve the September 23rd minutes.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The minutes of the September 23rd board meeting are approved. This morning in the audience, we have some guests. We have Mayor Foster is here, and Commissioner Joe Sherrill from the 6th District is here this morning. Mr. Mayor?
Morning. Can y'all hear me? Son? Can you hear me? Okay. Very few comments this morning. I know I always say that, but it's actually true this time. The main thing I want to talk about is the redistricting. You've probably heard about the redistricting going on in the county. The Committee of 10 continues to meet to work on the plan for redistricting. Don't know how it's going to turn out yet, but there's one commissioner for each district that is on that committee, and Jill Davis, the election administrator, and they are working diligently with our CTAS representatives to figure out exactly how the plan will go. There was an additional, I believe Fairfield was somewhere around 1,500 over the limit, so how to handle that is actually more difficult than it seems. There are plans out there to keep 9 districts and 2 commissioners. There's a plan to have 9 districts and 2 commissioners and 3 in Fairfield, but we don't think that one's going to work out because of school board issues. They're still looking at maybe possibly 8 commissioners in 2 districts to make the districts bigger, or even 10 districts with 2. So how that works out, I don't know. I'll say if you have sat in on the meetings, you would be pleased, because they're not trying to just pencil whip something and get it out. They're really working hard to find a solution that's equitable, and it has to be voted on by December. It's possible it could be November. I don't know at this point which it'll be, but no later than December will that be approved. They're working hard and taking that seriously. Just a little update on some of the construction on Genesis Road and 127. Be extra cautious if they're in that area. They're about to start the work on Interstate Drive, and that's the road that runs from Genesis Road, where Buc-ee's is going to be, over to Arby's. That's going to be 5 lanes. And they have put a temporary traffic light up on Genesis Road at Woodlawn Road, because they're going to be sending traffic around that some. So you might just want to go on down to the next exit at some point if you're going on into town. Last thing, COVID-19, thankfully we are really dropping. We had a high of 916 about 6 weeks ago, and as of yesterday we had 133 active cases, so it's gone down dramatically. We have had 224 deaths attributed to it. It's still mostly the unvaccinated in the hospital. CMC has 80% of their ICU patients that are unvaccinated, and 83% overall are unvaccinated, with 12 people in the hospital for COVID, and that's down from in the 60s. So things are going the right direction again. That is all I have. Do we have any questions? I'm going to have to apologize because I got to leave. Normally I like to stay and chat with you all afterwards, but I do have some other things today. So if you need me, email, call, or stop by the office.
Thank you, Alan.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Commissioner Sherrill, any comments?
So good morning. I just wanted to get up and, as the mayor mentioned, we're having a redistricting process, and in that, the 6th district is clearly going to be the one taking in some folks, and so I just want to make sure that as they go through that process, that everybody is familiar with me so that I know that the way Fairfield works is you guys put together your teams and you figure out how to do the best thing, and I'd like to be part of your teams in that. So keep that in mind as the district grows and we begin to share people. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. I'd like to share the following comments from across the board. On Sunday, November 7th, it'll be time for us to once again turn our clocks back an hour to Central Standard Time. Each time we change our clocks, we include a link in a document that contains some helpful hints and reminders for actions that you can take to protect your family and yourself. And those will be in the email that we send out. We also want to remind all of our members that the Veterans and First Responders Memorial at Fairfield Glade will be hosting their groundbreaking ceremony on Veterans Day, Thursday, November 11th at 3 p.m. at Robin Hood Park. To honor the service and sacrifice of our veterans, we will once again be providing Fairfield Glade dining gift cards to all veterans, and those can be picked up at the center beginning on November 11th and are good for use at any time at Stonehenge Grill. As we've stated on many occasions, it is your choice as to whether or not you feel comfortable using our facilities or participating in planned activities. The decision to be vaccinated or wear a mask are matters of individual choice, and we respect your right to choose what is best for you as an individual. We strongly encourage that each of our members and staff members seek the advice and counsel of your primary health care provider and then make an informed decision as you consider being vaccinated for the coronavirus to protect yourself from being infected or from infecting and spreading the virus to your loved ones, your friends, or your neighbors. We also strongly encourage each of our members and staff to wear a mask, whether you've been vaccinated or not, when you are inside in close contact with others if you do not know if they've been vaccinated. Let's not forget that the common flu is a type of coronavirus, and the annual flu season is arriving soon. And before the coronavirus became a topic of discussion in our polarized political environment, we were all comfortable getting our annual flu shots to minimize the effects of being exposed to someone with the flu. So let's all do the right thing and make a good decision and take the time to receive our annual flu vaccination. On September 29th, our Fairfield Glade Police Department was officially granted the award of accreditation by the Tennessee Law Enforcement Accreditation Program. This state accreditation, coupled with the international accreditation by the Commission on Accreditation for Law Enforcement Agencies, which we know as CALEA, makes our Fairfield Glade Police Department only the 35th law enforcement agency in over 600 agencies in Tennessee to be dual accredited. We are extremely proud of the fact that now 2 independent professional law enforcement organizations have confirmed what we already knew. Our Fairfield Glade Police Department, led by Chief Mike Williams, is staffed by an extraordinary team of dedicated law enforcement professionals. Dual accreditation is an exceptional accomplishment for a department our size. We have heard comments from many of the members expressing the desire to have a variety of dining options. We recently announced this winter we will try a different approach with some new dining options, using both the Stonehenge Grill and the center. At Stonehenge Grill, we'll be introducing a Sunday brunch from 8 to 1 and a special limited menu from 2 to 8 featuring football fan food and our most popular selling items. Theme nights like steak night, seafood night, Italian night will return on Monday evenings from 4 to 8 p.m. starting November 15th. And like Thanksgiving at Stonehenge Grill, we expect to host a Christmas brunch and a New Year's Eve dinner. We are also working with caterers to have some special events here at the center beginning in November or December. Other special events like our Super Bowl party, Easter Sunday, and Mother's Day will be provided by our Stonehenge Grill team at the center. Here are the latest updates on our major capital projects. Construction on the Racket Center renovation project continues with work on the original pro shop and the check-in area that will include additional restrooms and showers. The project remains on track to be completed by the end of the year, depending on the weather and material availability. We are proceeding with the initial planning for the next phase of the Robin Hood Park expansion project. We've received the site survey results, and we look forward to additional community amenities, including a new pavilion with restrooms, bocce ball courts, in time for the Memorial Day next year. We continue to work with the architect to review alternative renovations to update the Heatherhurst snack bar area. Once we receive the cost estimates for the alternatives, we'll be able to make a decision on the extent of the renovations. The actual construction will be deferred until the end of the 2022 golf season. The Druid Hills Advanced Planning Team continues to work on the initial planning process to determine what the next Druid Hills Clubhouse facility should provide for our growing community. A community town hall was held this week to provide the planning team with additional input and comments. Members who would like to share additional comments regarding the Druid Hills project can reach out to the Druid Hills Advanced Planning Team by sending email messages to the planning team at druidhillsprojects@fairfieldglade.cc. Information concerning the Druid Hills Advanced Planning Team is also available on the Community Club website. And that is our October update from across the board. The next item is the Treasurer's Report.
Good morning. Good, somebody's alive and well. Our financials continue to be strong. If you look at the balance sheet and sewer, we started the year with a little over $3 million of cash, and we ended September with a little over $3.7 million of cash compared to $2.8 million at the end of September of last year. It's a positive change of plus $900,000. For the POA, the Property Owners Association, we started the year with $2.5 million of capital cash. We ended the month of September with $1.2 million of capital cash, and I'll just remind you that primarily that was due to paying off the Stonehenge loan early. For operations, we started the year with $3.7 million of operating cash and ended September with $6.5 million. Total cash in POA at the beginning of the year was $6.2 million, ended September with $7.7 million compared to $5.5 million last year, which is a positive change of over $2 million in cash for POA. Looking at the cash flow sheet review, our sewer continues to have a strong performance with a positive variance to budget of $280,000, driven by higher than expected tap fees because of more new home starts, reduced grinder pump maintenance, and reduced wages and benefits due to open positions. Not that Bruce wants open positions, but he finally got them filled now, Bruce. Is that correct? Okay. Okay, cool. POA results from operating activities positive $1.4 million, a positive variance to the budget of over $600,000. The main drivers there is in assessment and dues were positive $265,000 due to better than budget operating assessments and recovery of bad debt. Also wages due to an HR trainer that we did not hire, plus delay in replacing IT personnel, plus postponement of employee and team training until we're clear of COVID. Marketing and events were positive $75,000 due to an increase in stay and play income, reduced wages and benefits from delay in filling 2 open positions, plus reduced spending in external marketing. In public works, we're positive $247,000. Wages and benefits savings make up about 45% of the variance due to 2 positions not being filled, plus related employee benefits and reduction in hours worked. The balance is in home permit increases generating more revenues and a decrease in spending for services, maintenance agreements, R&M, and operating supplies. It's primarily a timing issue. Amenities, results from operating activities are positive almost $900,000. A positive variance to budget of $634,000. The main drivers, the food and beverage is positive $90,000 to budget. The majority of the savings is due to the fact that in F&B we discontinued banquet and restaurant events, accounting for $54,000 of the variance. Stonehenge Restaurant accounts for the remaining positive variance of $36,000 due to revenues being higher than expected. Golf is positive $324,000. It's a positive variance due to the increase in revenue driven by increased golf rounds. We're 9,860 rounds more than we budgeted. The marinas, positive $117,000. This variance is due to increase in revenues from boat slips, lot storage, pontoon rentals, boat stickers, fishing license, which all account for $98,000 plus $19,000 from savings and wages and benefits, programs, equipment, and R&M supplies. The center, notice Mary Jo, I called it the center. In recreation was positive $93,000. This variance is primarily from reduced spending in wages, utilities, material supplies, and R&M. Overall, the POA and operations is favorable, $1.2 million to budget, which continues the excellent trend we've had all year long. I want to remind you of a tremendous meeting that you want to come to, because the presenter will do a tremendous job in presenting your proposed 2022 budget to you. But seriously, I encourage you to attend. We'll have a Q&A after I make the presentation. We'll also live stream it by our IT friends back there. And I will also post it on the internet or on our website. And we'll post both the presentation and the PowerPoint. So lots of opportunities to see what our proposed budget is for 2022. We'll do that on November 15th at 3 o'clock. Then the board will actually take input between November 15th and our December 15th meeting, and we will then take into consideration all of that input, make any adjustments we deem appropriate based on the input we receive, and then we will vote on that budget to make it official on December 15th. I'd like to look at the charts that I attached. This is the end of our quarter, so I always attach some additional charts. You can look at cash, obviously very good picture. Property, plant, and equipment, also a very good picture year on year. Same with equity. Also, my favorite chart is the last chart, and that's debt, which is down next to nearly nothing, and in May of 2022, that chart will actually be nothing. And so financially, we're really great, in a great place. Again, I encourage you to come to the budget presentation to give us your feedback and understand where we're headed in 2022. Any questions?
What time is that meeting?
3 o'clock on the 15th in the center, yes. Questions? All right, thanks.
Thank you, Bruce. Bob, the general manager's report.
Okay, thank you. Some other community improvements. You may have noticed 2 block columns just west of Stonehenge Drive on Peavine Road. That's the beginning of our new monument directional sign west of Stonehenge. That will be the first one we install. Then after that, we'll do the one west of Westchester, and then the one at Fairfield Boulevard, and then the one near Robin Hood Park. We're still trying to figure out the best location for the one before Sneed near Robin Hood Park, because the terrain is not the best in that area. So hope to get at least 3 of those done this calendar year, and then whatever we don't get done this year, we'll do in the first quarter of next year. So be on the lookout for those. The roads, the asphalt paving, Rogers Group tells us they will be doing it in November. Fortunately, they own their own asphalt plants, so they can really dictate when they do things, how long the plants are open, et cetera. So as long as we have good weather, they should be able to accomplish that in November. However, the chip and seal program that's handled by the county has been deferred for this calendar year. Won't happen until next year. One thing I want to be clear about is when I say the county, that is the county road superintendent. That is an elected position. This has nothing to do with Mayor Foster. He has no control over the roads in the county. It's all handled by the elected county road superintendent, and all that money comes from the state gas tax. So if you have any issues or concerns, the county road superintendent is actually the person that you want to contact, and we'd be happy to give you that number. Just call our Public Works Department. So we've definitely put some pressure on him to make sure that he catches up next year for us. So we'll see what happens. VEC has been mowing and grinding the areas along Peavine Road and Catoosa and Stonehenge where they sprayed to kill the underbrush. So that's looking real good. We plan to grass those areas with seed. So hopefully that will prevent some of the larger weeds and underbrush coming up. So hopefully they don't have to spray again, but time will tell on that. So it's definitely looking much better than it was. So we're pleased with what they've been doing there. With respect to golf, year-to-date rounds are 121,000. That's 9,900 more than budget. And for the year, average rounds per course, 118 compared to 109 in 2019. So Jeff and his team continue to do a great job generating additional golf rounds, and that really shows up in his bottom line performance as well. So we're pleased with that. And that's all I have.
Okay, thanks, Bob. The resort report, Barb.
Good morning. Wyndham timeshare visitors month-to-date 5,703 and year-to-date 50,958 timeshare visitors. 2021 Wyndham timeshare revenues, the center 13,197, which is 5%. Racket 9,394, 5%. Dartmoor Marina 135,212, 46%. St. George 58,906, 29%. Golf 657,964, which is 11%. And food 227,303, which is 20%. For a total year-to-date of 1,101,976, which is 14%. Thank you.
Thanks, Barb. The architectural control report, Sam?
Thank you. The September architectural controls reports as follows. Miscellaneous approvals through September 2021 is 1,515 compared to last year, which was 1,412. New homes approved stands at 93 through September, and comparative to last year was 59. New homes started this year is 68, and last year we had 62 at this time. I've submitted to the Board of Directors 2 policies for review: the draft exterior residential lighting policy and the draft solar panel installation policy. I've additionally submitted to the board 4 articles for submittal from the Property Standards Committee and also from the Environmental Committee. Is there any questions?
Okay. Any questions from the board? Okay.
Thank you,
Sam. This morning we have no unfinished business, and we also have no new business this morning. So the next item on the agenda is a purchase requisition for a new odor control system for the Wilburn pump station.
Good morning. This morning I'm presenting a PR for a new odor control system for the Wilburn pump station in the amount of $38,961 from Bar Environmental out of Nashville. Wilburn is our farthest station out in the collection system that pumps through all of the stations on Stonehenge, and an awful lot of the odors that we experienced on Stonehenge generate from Wilburn, and so this should mitigate an awful lot of that.
Okay. Any questions on that? Then may I have a motion to approve that purchase requisition?
I so move.
Okay. Is there a second?
I second.
Okay. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The purchase requisition for the new odor control system for the Wilburn pump station in the amount of $38,961 is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. At this point, we'll recognize Pat Grouet to present some FGRS updates.
It's only fitting I should follow odor control. Thanks a lot, Bruce. before I start. Last year we said things can't go on like this, and they didn't. They got worse. Will Rogers. I'm talking about outside the Glade. FGRS is still up and running, functioning, open 9 to 12, 5 days a week. We still have phone books left. And by the way, for new residents, if you do want a phone book you have your listing for next year, you should pick up one and fill out the form so you can get the information into the publisher. Most of our programs are humming along beautifully. Our Way to Go driving program, of course, is extremely busy, and we always need drivers. And we're also looking for some new leaders. We have some board members from the board of directors retiring due to senility and old age, and we do need some help. So come on down to our office, look around, pick up a Vital Life kit if you don't have one, and see if there's something you might be interested in doing to help out our community. In closing, a couple of quick things. We had our second successful fundraiser at the Palace Theater on October the 14th. We had a full house for comedy night, and I want to thank, and get this now, Rebecca, Kirk Automotive, WIT Financial, and Best Friends Veterinarian, who really helped us out and made substantial contributions to the cause, and it was very successful. Okay, I guess that's about it in closing. Oh, yes.
12 or 18 months ago, there was a move to find new building facilities or something?
Well, we're always looking, and, you know, we do have concerns about the future of that facility. I'm not at liberty to really go into all of it, but I can tell you this, that the gentleman that owned the whole complex sold it. And it's now owned by some consortium, I believe, out of Jamestown. So we are actively going to be looking, and we have to prepare ourselves for the potential, but I hope that things will continue as they do, because we had a very fortunate arrangement there. And it was a benefit to, I'll be very frank, to Butch Smith, and he felt we had a lot of redeeming qualities, and we were a service to the Glade. And of course, good Christian man that he is, he said, you can stay there. Well, unfortunately, he's a businessman, and unloaded the complex. So we shall see what we shall see. You know, down the road, we may be putting on the arm on everybody here to help us fund a building. You know, we'll be talking about it in the future. Now, this is a quote I came up with this morning before I leave you. The irony of life is that the time you're old enough to know your way around, you are not going anywhere. Boy, that applies to me. Any questions?
Thank you, Pat.
Doesn't anybody laugh anymore? Everybody's so down in the dumps. Hey, things are going to get better, folks. Trust me, they are. Be happy. You live in the best community anywhere in this country. Take a look at California and Illinois. We're in the best damn place going. So smile. Thank you.
Okay, at this time, we'll recognize Fairfield Glade residents to share any comments that you have. Please step to the podium and state your name and your address, and limit your comments to no longer than 3 minutes.
Hi, yes, my name's Mary Reedner, and I live at 173 Trentwood Drive, which is off Catoosa. And I just have a quick question for you. When you were giving your report, you said percent, so such percent of what?
Of like revenue.
Okay, thank you. And what I really wanted to chat about was, I have submitted a request. It would be 2 weeks ago this Wednesday. I called that lovely gal at ACC, Migdalia. and left a request to have the lip on my driveway done. She called me back and she said, that's done by Public Works. And she said, I've forwarded your request to a gal named Jane at Public Works. A week later, I had not heard anything, so I called Migdalia again, and she said, oh, you haven't heard anything? And I said, no, and she goes, well, let me put you through to the voicemail. I talked to, again, another lovely gal named Jane, who called me back, and she said, oh, well, I don't ever call anyone back. I just put it on the request. And I said, well, I really appreciate you calling me back to close the loop so that I know I haven't fallen through the cracks. All I'm saying is, I think it might be a good idea to ask your staff to close loops. Okay. Just because I thought I fell through the cracks. Now, the real reason I called, and I was here in the spring, is I want to caution the board when you announce our annual membership or our annual HOA assessment, when you get ready to increase that, because, for example, the last 3 years it's gone up $4 a month, which is a $20 a month increase in 7 years, which amounts to $240 a year. And I'm only counting on 7 years because that's how long I've been here. But it's gone up 8% from 2019 to 2021. Now, my husband will probably kill me, but he's a golfer, and I went mentally through my neighborhood looking at, because it's a single in and single out neighborhood, so most everyone knows everyone, and I went through in my head who golfs and who doesn't golf in my neighborhood. Of every house that either has 1 or 2 people living in it, less than 50% of the people in my neighborhood are golfers. So my point is, we went up $4 a month in the HOA fee. Last year, golf went up $1. My husband can afford, if he wants to golf, he can pay for it out of his own money. He doesn't need to come out of the household money. So what I'm saying is, be a little bit more cautious or think about that when you raise our HOA fees, because golf can go up $3 and the HOA can go up $2. I mean, kind of balance it a little bit more so that it's spread more evenly across the residents. Because like I say, if he wants to golf, he can pay for it. I don't have to pay for it. Thank you.
Okay, do we have anyone else?
Tom Ratcliffe, 157 Devonshire Drive. First, this morning, I'd like to thank the board for what's being done over at Stonehenge Grill with the new menu announcements. I think it's appropriate with what's going on with Druitt and Greg's project and so forth, to at least look at and try new things to get some kind of track record. So I appreciate that. The second item has to do with same project, the financial piece. I think, Bruce, it would be helpful if you went into a little bit more detail as it relates to the restaurant finances when you come up here. You know, just they're not even in the packet. The financial statements aren't in the packet, and I just think, especially when we're having a discussion about Druitt and restaurant expansion and so forth, and whether we can control those costs, that we start focusing in on it. I give you an example, and you can look at it. August cost of sales were 42%, and Ken asked the question, what was going on? This month, if I read the statements correctly, they're 34%. That's a big swing. I would want to ask and know why that big difference, because it definitely was nothing that was related. The answer to Ken was nothing related to financial timing or anything else. So I just think it'd be helpful if we could do that. Finally, since the beginning of the year, I've been taking and talking to the board and really about 3 items: the transparency, open and honest communication, and member respect. I think it highlights in something that was brought up, and first of all, I'd like to thank Ellie and Nico for their work as they were looking at and trying to understand the expenditures that we made in regards to the Grove, and where the proposal initially and the motion, what that started at, and where it ended up. And their hard work was basically looking at, hey, comparing paving costs and trying to understand why that big difference. And they put in a request, and they got some information. And the bottom line was, it appears that the whole project was moving. And when I say moving, we were going to contribute to lighting and pathways. And somehow down the road, that expanded significantly. And the explanation is discussions with the developer and so forth. Well, let's talk about transparency. That was not discussed in the beginning at all, and really conveyed wholeheartedly to us as residents. What am I referring to in that regard has to do with, we decided, apparently, and I say we, the board decided that they were going to take and expand and make a contribution to this development, okay? And it ballooned. It was going to be $150,000, and based on the numbers that were supplied, turned out to be about $161,000, from an initial, I believe, $40,000. So it's confusing, and it causes questions to be asked, and uncomfortable questions, I'm sure, with the board. These discussions are done behind closed doors. So you have to, wonder, was there financial inducements, by the members in the board? What was being obtained from, this agreement? And I'm not implying that there was anything not going on that was not above board, but it causes uncomfortable questions in the board when you're not transparent, open and honest, and finally treating us with the respect we deserve because you're handling our money at the end of the day. Thank you.
Okay, do we have any other comments?
When I made my comment about golf maybe being more self-sustaining, that also, I meant to apply to pickleball and tennis and now bocce ball and things like that as well. Because again, according to Mr. Cox's, we are in really good financial shape. So maybe take, again, that into consideration when you look at our HOAs.
Just for clarity for me, you're talking assessments versus amenity fees is what you're talking about, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah, okay. Tom, I got. That's good. Yeah, you're good. Just a couple comments on what Tom said, and I don't want to get into a debate with you today, Tom. But on the Grove, sorry. If you go back and look at the budgets, in 2020 we had $50,000 in the budget for the Grove, and in 21 we had $100,000 in the budget. Add those up, that's $150,000. Yeah, it ended up $160,000, but that was some engineering work we had to do. And those dollars were sat down with Tom, and those were, in fact, for paths and lighting. And that's what was spent. We went through the budget with that. I gave Nico and the information on that. So to say that we weren't open and transparent, I think, is incorrect. It was in the budget. We stated it as so. And when I reviewed the budget at the annual meeting, we showed that. So I don't know how to be any more open and candid about that. And 150 versus 160, that to me is well within the bounds of reality. So we did what we said we were going to do, and we did it. We said it publicly, and we did what we said.
Okay. Bob, did you have comments you wanted to make?
I was going to make the same comment. I'm sorry.
Okay. Pat?
Yeah, I was going to make the same comment. It was in the budget presentation last year, and we discussed it, so it was out there.
Pat Grew, a 20-year resident. In defense of decisions by our board and our management, this is one of the more unique business models in the United States. You are not forced to pay an amenity fee for anything. You have the option to participate and pay or not and not pay. So when you move here, there's no added fee, as there are in many complexes around this country. Believe you me, I traveled before I came here and looked, and you've got to put money up front to play golf or anything, pickleball, to use the facilities. Here, it's a pay-as-you-go. It is a very fair and equitable fee. And also, when we have to raise fees, there are people that work here that cannot continue to work for $7.50 an hour. We have pay increases, we have insurance increases, there's all sorts of liabilities, heat, air conditioning, everything else. So I just hope that our members will be more forgiving and think what a wonderful place this is, because I'll tell you, you cannot live anywhere else for a better financial deal than right here in Fairfield Glade and in this county. It's remarkable, it really is. And you're doing a good job, Board. Thank you.
Okay, do we have anyone else that wants to address?
Well, he's coming up, Ken. If I can make an additional comment on the Grove, the actual dollars spent were $152,133. I think the 160 you're looking at was if we were to actually pay that directly to the contractors, that's what it would have cost. But it was the 150 that we committed to in the budget, and then the additional 2,133 was for a conceptual plan that was done prior to 2021 and 2020.
Netabelic, Rich Netabelic, over on Bainbridge Road. Some of you may know me as the Christmas lights man with the big display. I have a question. When an FGCC employee harasses and ridicules a resident, how is the incident investigated? That's for you, Kenny.
No, actually, it's handled through staff. And so Bob and our HR director do the investigation on that.
Who actually does the investigation?
Our Director of Human Resources would.
Who's told the results of the investigation?
We would, as we did in your case, we communicated to you the findings of the investigation. And so we would get back to the resident about the findings. Don't get into a lot of details, but would give you the overall conclusion.
No, you're wrong. You told me nothing. In both instances, and this is only for myself and my wife, you told us nothing. You said that you never discussed the results of the investigation with the residents. Those were your words.
Correct. We don't get into the details. We just let you know that it has been investigated and it's been handled appropriately. That's correct. For legal liability reasons, that's why.
You won't even discuss what you did, the results of the investigation, with the victims? This is not proper. So in other words, the victims never know what happened. Is that correct?
As I say, we, for legal liability reasons.
It's a yes or no. It's a yes or no answer.
No, it's not. For legal liability reasons, we do not get into the details. We let you know that we've taken appropriate action.
For legal liability reasons?
That's correct.
Is this pertaining to the non-disclosure that you have to all sign?
No, it's totally separate from that. This is an HR matter. It has nothing to do with the non-disclosure agreements that the board members sign and others sign.
So then as far as the victims of these incidents, and ours is not the only incident, you are well aware of that.
No, I'm not. This is the only incident that I'm aware of since I've been here.
How many years you been here?
10 years.
Bobby?
10 years. Yes, sir.
And this is the only incident?
Yes, that's risen to the level of needing an investigation.
Why won't you tell, again, I want to know, repeat it if you must, why the victims are not notified as to what happened to, let's call them the bad guys, that harassed, that did the harassment?
For the third time, I'll say, for legal liability reasons, to protect you as members and the community club, we do not divulge the results of investigations to individual members. That's all kept private and confidential in our HR department. But we take appropriate action with respect to the employees.
Private and confidential, yet the victims, basically, all they can assume is that you did nothing and that these employees just go on with a normal life. Is that correct?
Not necessarily. As I say, we take appropriate action.
What action?
Appropriate action.
What actions do you actually take on an open thing? We're just talking general.
Mm-hmm.
Do you fire them? Do you fine them? Do you take away their benefits? What do you actually do?
It's a wide range of actions. It could result in, depending on the situation, could result in termination, could result in a suspension without pay. It could result in a reprimand. So there's a wide variety of actions that we can take depending on the findings of the investigation.
So then, it would be pretty honest to say, as a victim, that possibly nothing has happened because you won't release any information whatsoever to the victim.
That's correct.
Folks, I'm probably going to be a permanent fixture at their meetings from now on. This incidents, I will say, in all honesty, has gotten beyond any hope. You heard them say they won't tell you, they won't tell the folks what actually happened. And yet people are out there being harassed, and this is not proper. This is not proper at all.
Have the incident stopped? Or you think it may come back?
We, at this point, we hope so. We do not know. Now, most of you people that you saw our Christmas light display over there, as you know, we had the largest Christmas light display for almost 3 counties around here. We had 130,000 lights that I put up. We got notices on that. McAdoo back there and his group, since we've lived here, we're about 11 or 12 violations that we received. If they don't like you folks, watch out. But I've just got sick and tired of it. I will not put up with it. We had a meeting with these people. They won't even answer your questions. And that's all. But this is a pretty nice place to live. This is a pretty good subdivision. But the stuff that we have to put up with here is getting worse and worse. And by God, I'm one that I just won't tolerate it. What's going to happen now? Who knows? I hope it stops. But 11 or 12 violations since we lived here, come on. That's a little much. and you know the place that I live over there. I thank you for your time. I respect your listening to me. Thank you very much. Is there any more questions? I'm sorry. Ma'am. No, ma'am. You can thank them for that.
Steve McCauley, 127 Berkshire Loop. I wanted to defend the board. I was a public school superintendent controlled by a board, was responsible to the community. When we have instances of similar to that, we investigated. We told them it was handled. It was a private matter. What Bob Weber said is exactly the legal proceedings. We did not tell them if they were terminated, if they were written up. It's a legal matter. Attorneys will tell you that's something you don't divulge. In most jobs, it's not publicized that, hey, we reprimanded, we suspended that. I defend the board because that's the way attorneys will tell you, that's the way you handle it. It's done that way for a reason. You may not like the reason, but that's the way it is. The board handles it. And they got back to you and say it was handled. You may not like the answer, but that's the proper way to handle personnel matters. Attorneys will tell you that, and you're sued if you don't handle personnel matters of that order. You may have an executive decision or an executive board meeting to handle a personnel matter. It's not open to the public. As a superintendent, if we wanted to terminate a teacher, then it was handled publicly because of the way it was. But a non-teacher, they could be terminated for cause. So what Bob said is exactly the way you should handle it. You may not like the way it was, but they handled it proper. So for somebody that's handled personnel matters in a community-oriented school corporation, you handled it exactly the same way. Because I guarantee you, you don't want to be sued and have a $1 million settlement. And who pays for it? We would have to pay for it. So in defense of the board, they did exactly what they were instructed to do on a legal standpoint.
Thank you. Do I have any other?
Thank you.
We have
And also to clarify, too, the board really doesn't get involved in HR matters at all unless it is something that's so egregious where we have a concern that there would be a major lawsuit against the community club. Then I would get the board involved. But typically, all HR matters are handled by director of HR, and then she gets me involved if they're significant enough to where I need to be involved. But the board typically is not involved.
Hi, I'm Phil Smith, live at 144 Hickory Ridge Lane, and I'm a vice president of the board for the Veterans and First Responders Memorial Board. And since Gruet has left me about 3 minutes to talk, I thought I would take that before he gets it. I just want to briefly say thank you to the board for the cooperation that you've given us as we proceed in the preparation and the development of the memorial. This week we received near final plans from our landscape architect. We'll have more to talk about that later. I just want to reiterate, though, what Ken indicated at Veterans Day. We will have a groundbreaking ceremony, and it'll be the first big step in this 3-year process that we've been involved in. And we've had a lot of cooperation, a lot of support, and so we look forward to that. And I do want to mention that on November 6th at 10 o'clock, there will be a Veterans Day parade in Crossville, and I think it's going. We weren't able to have it last year because of COVID, but they're going to do it this year. So those of you that are interested, it'd be a good time to go visit Crossville and celebrate that activity. So thank you.
Thank you, Phil. Do we have any other comments? Then at this time, I'll entertain a motion. Do any of the members of the board have any comments?
No.
Then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Okay, is there a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion to adjourn is passed. We stand adjourned.
Good job, Mr.